Jack was a talented programmer, a graduate from a prestigious university, and the most efficient worker in his office. Everyone sought his help at least once, and his boss, Mr. Grayson, relied heavily on Jack's skill. Jack had been patiently waiting for a promotion and a raise, but Mr. Grayson, afraid of losing him, always recommended others instead. Fed up with being overlooked, Jack decided it was time to teach his boss a lesson. A few weeks later, higher officials assigned Mr. Grayson an important project, which he was expected to handle personally. But, as usual, Mr. Grayson intended to dump the responsibility on Jack. Anticipating this, Jack prepared himself. When Mr. Grayson tried to contact him, Jack switched off his phone, cut his intercom, and focused solely on his own work. Frustrated, Mr. Grayson eventually came to Jack's desk and asked him to come to his office. Without even looking up, Jack calmly said, "Sorry, Mr. Grayson, I'm busy finishing up my own work. If it's urgent, send me an email. My phone's lost, so don't bother calling." Annoyed, Mr. Grayson emailed Jack, asking him to complete the project in 2 days. Jack replied, "But this is your project. Why are you asking me to do it?" Mr. Grayson, making excuses, responded that he had an important event and couldn't work on the project. Jack, with cool resolve, replied, "Sure, I'll get to it after I finish my own tasks." 2 days later, Mr. Grayson was nervously waiting outside the office seminar room for the big presentation. The higher officials were already inside, expecting Mr. Grayson to present the project. He tried calling Jack, but his phone was still off. When Jack finally arrived, Mr. Grayson breathed a sigh of relief and asked Jack to send the project over. Jack sent an email, and Mr. Grayson, without checking, walked into the seminar room to download the file. But to his shock, the email read, "Mr. Grayson, this is your project, not mine. You can't take credit for my work." Stunned, Mr. Grayson had no choice but to introduce Jack to the higher officials. Jack confidently stepped in and delivered a flawless presentation. A month later, Jack received a double promotion for his talent. After Jack's bold stand and successful presentation, Mr. Grayson was furious. Jack's refusal to help had embarrassed him in front of higher officials, and Jack had secured the promotion Mr. Grayson didn't want him to have. Still holding a grudge, Mr. Grayson plotted his revenge. A few weeks later, Mr. Grayson saw his chance. He assigned Jack an impossible task with a tight deadline, hoping to overwhelm him and make him fail. If Jack couldn't deliver, Mr. Grayson figured he could discredit him and undermine his reputation. Jack, however, recognized the trap. Instead of reacting emotionally, he approached the task with calm precision. He broke down the project into manageable parts and skillfully delegated tasks to trusted colleagues. Jack had earned their respect through his talent and leadership, and many were eager to help him succeed. As the deadline approached, Jack and his team finished the project ahead of schedule. When he submitted the work, Mr. Grayson was shocked. His attempt to sabotage Jack had backfired, only proving Jack's leadership even further. Around the same time, higher officials had started receiving complaints about Mr. Grayson's work efficiency. His habit of delegating his responsibilities to others, particularly Jack, had come to light. The executives decided to investigate. Unaware of this, Mr. Grayson tried one last tactic to damage Jack's reputation. He began spreading false rumors, trying to paint Jack as overambitious and difficult to work with. But the rumors quickly died down as Jack's colleagues trusted and admired him. His reputation for hard work, integrity, and fairness couldn't be shaken by Mr. Grayson's schemes. A few days later, both Jack and Mr. Grayson were called into a meeting with the higher officials. After hearing about Mr. Grayson's inefficiency and reliance on others, they had made a decision. Mr. Grayson was demoted and Jack was promoted once again, this time to a position that put him on equal footing with his former boss. As they left the meeting, Jack turned to Mr. Grayson and said calmly, "It's important to know when to let go of grudges. They only hold you back. You can't build success by tearing others down. It always comes back." Mr. Grayson, realizing his schemes had led to his own downfall, said nothing. Jack's wisdom and resilience had not only earned him respect, but had also taught Mr. Grayson a harsh lesson: no amount of sabotage can defeat someone who stands firm in their principles. Jack's success was not just in his talent, but in his ability to rise above petty schemes with wisdom and grace. And from that day on, Jack continued to rise, respected by all, while Mr. Grayson's influence faded into the background.